Story time of how my dad slept with my 16-year-old sister. So yes, my dad did sleep with his biological daughter. So at the time, my sister was 16 and I was 14. Okay, so my sister and my dad had a really weird connection, but I just thought it was because he favorited her and he didn't really like me that much. He ended up saying his favorite was her because he knew that she was easy. But anyways, back to the story. Every single Friday, he would pick my sister up from school during lunchtime and take her back to the house, and they would have like daddy-daughter lunch there. And then my mom would do the same thing with me on Mondays. Okay, so my sister, one of her friends takes her to school and I take the bus in the morning. And I missed the bus one day. And at the time of me and my sister going to school, my parents are already at work. So I just decided that I was going to have a day off. And yes, this day was a Friday. I'm pretty sure you guys can already see where this story is headed. But I was in my room, I was just chilling, sleeping, and then all of a sudden I hear stuff happening between my dad. Part 2 of how I caught my dad sleeping with my 16-year-old sister. Continuing with the story, after my dad and my sister come home for their lunch, I get woken up from my amazing nap hearing my dad and my sister doing the thingy. When I tell you my sister was all for waiting for marriage, oh my gosh. My sister wouldn't even touch a boy in the wrong spot before marriage. So I don't know how this came about. But listen, I am nosy as heck, so of course I tiptoed all the way over to them. They were in her room. I whipped my phone out so fast I acted like I was on a talk show and I said, "Presenting." I opened the door and I see my sister and my dad actually sleeping together. They were under the blanket, so I didn't see any private areas. My sister was really popular at school. So out of this situation, I got her to walk me around school everywhere. My dad bought me a car and gave me $1,000. Haha, I made him go broke. Then after I got everything I wanted, I told my mom. She kicked my sister and my dad out, and I'm pretty sure they live together now, but I haven't talked to him since. Story time of how my stepmom got so jealous of me and my dad's bond that she plotted to kill me. So I never really liked my stepmom in the first place because she was a little controlling over my dad. And I just knew that she hated me and I really hated her too. But you know, my dad was in love and he seemed happy, so I didn't really say anything. And my dad would always take me to lunch on Saturdays and Sundays. And we'd have like a dad-daughter bonding day, I guess. And me and my dad were just super close. And every single weekend, me going to lunch with him would start an argument between them two because she said I was taking time away from them two. My dad really never chose sides, but I never really got involved in the relationship as much as I hated her because I just loved seeing my dad happy. Also, at this time, I was 15. And what I'm about to say next might sound just a little crazy and unbelievable, but I'm not sure who she was on the phone with. But while on the phone with somebody, she was talking about getting rid of me. Mind you, my mom had passed away when I was younger, and I really had no other family to go to. Now, this is where the story takes a turn for the worse and she tries to get rid of me. I'm running out of time, for the crazy part 2. Part 2 of how my stepmom got so jealous of me and my dad's bond that she plotted to kill me. Continuing with the story, I don't know who she was on the phone with, but I overheard her on the phone saying that she was going to get rid of me. And honestly, I didn't really care and I didn't really think anything of it because I knew she was crazy, but I didn't think she was that crazy. So all of a sudden, she started making me breakfast. And I'm not a breakfast person, I can't eat right when I get up. So every time she would make me breakfast, I'd be like, "Thanks, but I'm not hungry." And she would get so mad. Like, so freaking mad. I'm not going to get into all the little details, but comes to find out, she was putting rat poison in my food. She had set up cameras in my room. And I don't know what kind of sense this makes. I think she's just crazy, but she started to hide snakes in my room and claim it was my fault that the snakes were coming in my room. Yeah, doesn't really make any sense. Once I told my dad and my dad got out of his little in love stage with her, he finally stepped up and said something to her. And she admitted that she wanted me dead. He eventually called the cops, and to this day, she is in jail for attempted murder. Oh, did I forget to mention the day that he broke up with her, she tried to stab me in the throat. Story time of how my best friend was catfished by my dad. So me and my best friend were kind of just like swiping through Tinder for fun. And then she came across this really hot dude. So of course, she swiped right, and they talked all night long. And he said he had an Android, so he couldn't FaceTime, but his messages were blue, so I thought something was off. She was too blinded to see that something was up in the first place because she was messaging with a really hot guy. So about a week of them just like texting back and forth and I guess getting to know each other, they decided that they were going to meet up. So they both decided that they were going to meet up at an Olive Garden near them. And you see, as her best friend, of course, I'm going to have to go with her. So I got dressed up and I sat about 5 tables away from her. And we got there about 30 minutes earlier than we were supposed to be there. Okay, so my best friend had 3 bowls of fettuccine alfredo before he got there. So when he got there, it wouldn't look like she ate a lot. Then I see my dad walk in, all dressed up and fancy with a bow tie and everything. This story time just gets so much more funnier, so like for a part 2. Part 2 of how my best friend was catfished by my dad. Continuing with the story, I see my dad walk into the restaurant all dressed up. Mind you, my dad's married. To my mother, of course. So I was like, ooh, my dad and my mom are finally going on a date together. And then he looks over to my best friend and walks over to the table. When I tell you my heart dropped, my heart has never sank so deep inside me so fast. He sits down and asks her, is this Mackenzie? When I tell you I busted out laughing so freaking hard I fell out of my chair. And almost everybody in the restaurant turned around and looked at me, and so did my dad. And I walk over to the table and I'm like, what the heck is going on here? My best friend is literally just sitting there in shock, no emotion on her face. Then he looks at us, he looks really confused, his face goes blank, and then he goes, I was just trying to teach y'all girls a lesson. I told my mom and I was just getting a laugh out of it, and then she looked through his phone and said that he was meeting up with a bunch of 14-year-old girls. So comes to find out, my dad is a pedophile. My mom kicked him out, and if you're one of those girls, I really do apologize. Storytime of how I found out that there was a guy living in my attic. I'm even pretty sure there's a couple articles on this. So basically, living in the house was me, my mom, my dad, and my younger sister. This story ends up taking a huge twist, so just stay tuned for that. Also, keep in mind that my boyfriend's name at the time was Jacob. When I first started to notice that there was somebody else in my house was when I first started dating Jacob. Mind you, the only time anybody in my entire family has ever been in the attic is the first 2 months that we lived there, and it was only once or twice, and we never seen anything up there. So we would notice that bits of our food would go missing, and every time we packaged leftovers, the leftovers in the Tupperware that we packaged the leftovers in would just completely disappear. And a bunch of my stuff would always go missing. For example, 2 of my pillows and 4 of my blankets gone missing, and my shoes and my clothes, and even my underwear. So one day my boyfriend came over and he left around 1 a.m. So the rest of my family was sleeping. Also, I have the whole entire upstairs to myself, and my mom, dad, and my sister sleeps downstairs. This story just ends up getting really crazy, so like for a part 2. Part 2 of how I found out that there was a guy living in my attic. Continuing with the story, I go downstairs and I walk my boyfriend out to the car. Of course, trying to be quiet because the rest of my family is sleeping. So I go back upstairs. Mind you, I have the whole upstairs to myself. And then I go to the bathroom and there was pee in the toilet. And on the wall in front of the toilet, it said Jacob was here with a heart. So I took a picture of it and I posted it on my private story because I just thought it was funny and cute at the same time. And he slid up and said, what? And then he swore up and down that it wasn't him. So anyways, it freaked me out at first, but at the same time, I didn't really care. So I didn't really pay any mind to it. So to speed the story up, my dad had to go in the attic for something, and he found an actual mattress covered in insulation. And in the corner, he found a guy. The guy looked very sickly, skinny, but scary at the same exact time. So, of course, my dad called 911 right away, and the guy admitted to stealing our food, stealing my underwear, stealing things out of my room, basically stealing from us overall, stealing our food, etc. I'm running out of time, but he ended up being a wanted criminal, but he's in jail now, so yeah. Storytime of how I got sexually assaulted by my stepdad for 4 years straight and nobody believed me. So my mom got with my stepdad when I was 5 years old, and all of the sexual assaulting started around 6. It went from the little things as of just saying dirty jokes to me, all the way to actually sexually assaulting me. One of the little things that he did is he would hide all of my underwear, then tell me I can't wear the dirty underwear that I had on, so I would have to go without wearing underwear, then he'd force me to wear a dress, so it's easier for him to touch me in all the wrong places. And he would always bribe me to sit on his lap by letting me fake drive the car. He would literally sit in my bed while my mom was at work and force me to watch adult videos, and would force my hand in places that it shouldn't go. He has done so much more things to me, but I don't really want to go in detail with everything else. And then one day he told me that if I ever told anybody about this, that I would be in very big trouble and my life and my mom's life would be at risk. And at such a young age, I didn't know what to do, so of course I kept everything to myself. And then things just got a lot worse. I'm running out of time for a part 2. Part 2 of how I got sexually assaulted by my stepdad for 4 years straight and nobody did anything about it. Continuing with the story, he started getting more comfortable with doing more and more things to me. It continued for years and years and years. I started to try to stand up for myself, but it never worked. It always would end up just making the situation worse, and he would harm me in spots that my mom isn't gonna check. And again, I was told that if I told anybody, then my life would be at risk, and so would my mom's. And again, I was also younger, so I didn't really know what to do. But then finally came a day where I had enough, and I went to go tell my mom. She told me that I was insane and didn't believe me whatsoever. I went to go try to tell my grandma, my grandpa, my aunt, my uncle, and my brothers, and none of them believed me. None of them believed me until 6 years later. I am now 17, and because my mom was so blindsided by this boy that she didn't believe what was happening in her own household, it caused me to have many scars, very disturbing, traumatizing experiences. Also wish me luck because in exactly 2 weeks from today, I'll be seeing this guy.